Elio is now out in theaters. Is it any good? Let's talk about it.
Pardon?
Hi, Dad. I'm a bargaining chip. No, say the other thing. Oh, help me, Father. He overpowered me.
Alright, so this is Pixar Animation's newest movie and their follow-up to their biggest movie of all time, Inside Out 2, which just came out last year and made like 1.6 billion at the box office. And this one probably won't make half of that, but I still think that this is another Pixar win in my eyes and adds another good movie to their belt, which is honestly funny for me to say, as my expectations going into this movie were like 0 to like none, because it seemed like Pixar really had no hope for it with how little they had marketed it. I talked to a lot of other people that I know. They say, "Oh, I don't know what Elio is. What is this movie?" And you remember last year, everyone knew what Inside Out 2 was. The marketing for that movie was insane. But with this movie, it hasn't had that much marketing. You know, you've had a couple trailers, not many TV spots, but it really hasn't, picked up any traction. And another thing is that it kind of got shuffled around on the release calendar, as it had its first teaser come out in 2023 and it was supposed to release in 2024, which was Inside Out 2's year, but it ended up getting delayed a whole year and it's now out. And I ultimately liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I wouldn't say it's top tier Pixar for me. It's not like a 10 out of 10. Only some Pixar movies get that high prestige rating for me, as I do grade Pixar really harshly because they're known to be some of the greatest animated movies of all time. But it's also nowhere near the bottom of the rankings for me, as it has a lot going for it that I decently enjoyed. I ultimately thought the story of this movie was one of my favorite parts of it, because I honestly latched onto it from the first 5 minutes of this movie, as it shows Elio, who recently lost his parents, feeling alone, really stuck in this grief period, and he's not opening up to anyone. But then he discovers space and what could be out there, what other creatures could be out there, if there's aliens out there, and he kind of opens up. That's one thing that he latches onto, and it gets him out of his grief period. And I myself am really into space, really into space travel. After watching Interstellar, which is my favorite movie of all time, I really got so focused in on space and how cool it is. It got me into more movies and all that. And I just think the whole idea of space travel is so interesting. And Pixar going back into science fiction was really nice to see, as they don't do it too often. They've had a couple of science fiction movies with Wall-E. They just had Lightyear, which in my opinion didn't work out that well. It has many issues. But Elio thankfully doesn't have that many issues with the science fiction and how it deals with those themes. And it works so much better in my eyes. I really ultimately thought the story of this one was awesome for me personally, because of how attached I am to science fiction and space travel. I don't know if I believe in aliens, but I thought how this movie tackled aliens was really funny, as the movie opens with him, laying on a beach surrounded by something that he writes in the sand, like, "Aliens, come for me, aliens, take me." I mean, I thought it worked really well. And if you like science fiction or aliens, you'll probably enjoy this one as well. One of my main gripes about this movie, even though I did enjoy it, was the animation. And that's only because I'm personally getting tired of how Pixar is doing their animation and how they draw their characters, because it all kind of boils down to looking the same for me and all kind of mixing together. And I would say this only kind of applies to the human-based, Pixar movies. The other ones like Elemental and all that, they're very different. There's no really humans in those ones. But the movies with the humans, I feel like the animation style is kind of wearing out on me. It just doesn't look that great in my eyes. I feel like Pixar is playing it a little too safe at times. And I think that they could do more movies and styles outside of the box, just like what they did with like Soul from a couple years ago. Soul is one of my favorite Pixar movies of all time. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. It's on Disney Plus. That's such a great Pixar movie. I like when Pixar takes a risk. They don't play it too safe. And I thought that in Elio, it's played a little safe. It teaches great themes to kids. But I think that, Elio does things a little too childish at times. And me personally, I feel like Pixar is at its best when they take a risk and they, it's a kid's movie, but it also isn't too childish for adults to watch. I think Elio really tries to stay on that line in a, interesting way, but it kind of plays it 50-50, where some of it's way too childish for me, but ultimately, half of it also does work for adults. So I'm not going to really, kind of hate on it for its animation style, but I do want Pixar to really, step out of the box a little bit more with their other new films that they're going to be making. I really enjoyed the voice cast in here, just like with every other Pixar film. Jonas Kiprit as Elio was great. Remy Edgerly as Glorden was one of my favorite parts of this movie. You'll really love Glorden when you see him for the first time. He's such an awesome character. And Zoe Saldana as Olga Solis, basically Elio's aunt, was also really great. I like the story between Elio and her, how he kind of felt alone, didn't want to attach to a new person after kind of losing his parents. And it's nice to see Zoe Saldana and finally another good movie after her terrible Oscar-winning performance in Amelia Perez. The pacing is nice and quick as this movie is an hour and 40 minutes long. It doesn't go on for too long, doesn't go on for too short. It's longer than Inside Out 2, shorter than Elemental and Lightyear, which, sometimes, a longer runtime, shorter runtime works for Pixar. I would have liked maybe another 10 to 15 minutes more for this one, but that's only my personal opinion. Overall, Elio is another Pixar win for me as I enjoyed it and almost teared up a couple times, but it isn't anywhere near the quality of Inside Out 2 and Elemental. Still though, it has a lot really put into it that I ultimately really resonated with, especially the story as it revolves around science fiction and finding your place within the world. The voice cast is really great. There's a lot of funny moments here, but I do wish it took itself a little more seriously, as sometimes it skewed a little too childish for me. I'm going to give Elio a low 7 out of 10. I hope you guys did enjoy my review. If you did, please smash that like button, as it is free to do so and it helps a lot. Also, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos. And if you also watch Elio, leave your own thoughts down below in the comments, as I love to discuss it with you. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.